got another round right here that is a shell, and that really changes everything a lot. If I use that, there would be a lot of flair behind that tree. And in many ways, they'd be competing for attention, the background and the foliage of my tree. Here's an orange, a carnelian slice that warms all that up quite a bit. Sometimes the copper on top of carnelian gets a little bit lost. It can be very lovely, but it's not as striking a piece versus a white background. Sliding a white stone in there.
Boy, so many different combinations, yeah.
And all of a sudden, the tree itself is the star, is the thing that is really framed and set off. So that's the one that I'm going to use. And over on my little Post-it note, I have written down that that one was a magnesite and it was $12 versus this one that I actually, it's unknown, unidentified. You know, somebody said, well, maybe it's a chunk of marble, but they sold it to me for $6. So I've still got a label on there that says $6 and I don't know what it is. Look it up one day.
Okay.
So here on this piece, we're going to start shaping the tree. All of these are still just their loose wires out there around the frame. And it's time to start folding them in, bringing them together. Same discussion as our hoop. You could do them right next door to each other, you know, one by one with the one next to it. We also could introduce a little more shape to our tree by grabbing one from this side and connecting it to one from over there and making the branches weave through each other a little bit more. Another thought here, though, is what happened with my pendant I'm wearing, that instead of just bringing the branches together at the center and bringing the trunk down straight away, I actually twisted it into a fairly drastic arc and brought the branches together into the trunk off to the side. And knowing that I want to do that, I'm going to do that with this piece. I'm going to show you that I have to decide, am I starting on the left and then going to have it spiral over to the right, or am I starting on the right and then going to work that way? The twisting, if I've been going clockwise, I'm going to continue going clockwise, but let's do this one leaning the other direction. Okay, so I'm going to start at that side, and my finger is in here introducing a gap so that I'm not getting this so tight, so close that the cab won't be able to sit in there. And that little bit of a gap with my finger holding it up gives me something to press against. And another purpose that it accomplishes, that when I later go to shape my tree more, put some kinks in the branches, I have some material to work with. So I've got 3 of those now caught, and I'm just bringing this over to meet the other one, the one next door to it, fairly high, because I'm trying to get that branch to really curve and look like it's heavy. And then let's flip in the next one. And you can see all these little deviations with the seed beads really pop it out into the space. It's more of a piece of art, not just a decorative pendant, but something really to look at. Okay, so here, the start of our tree, and my stone in there to check on it, to make sure I haven't closed it down too tight, because if I did need to back up and unwind something, if I had made this so tight that the cab wouldn't fit, now would be a good time. Oh, there was another example I didn't show you. This one is hematite. And that's a darker, shiny background. And so, yeah, depending, is it nighttime, is it daytime? And what sort of emotion are you evoking with all of this? I like the hematite in there too. But, okay, we've got all of our branches coming together, and it's time to twist the trunk. I could right now just twist all of this in a bundle, and I would get something fairly uniform. Having all the wires come in together, you'd get a tight spiral. I tend to actually keep some of these separated for a minute and do some of the bumpy twisting on them a little bit more. Even though I know that they are all going to come together and be the trunk, it makes the trunk of my tree more gnarly and have more interest. Here also, I know that I'm going to want a fairly severe bend right there, so I just introduced that kink coming off to the side. Those little ones popped up all by themselves, and that might be a good place where I let that set branch off to start to be its own root system. But we are just making it up as we go along. You do bring the branches together, form the trunk, and then let the trunk separate back out into the roots. Let's move that way. Okay. We will need to have the stone in place when we do the anchoring. Right now the frame is still loose and open. I went ahead and left one of them out to the side in the first place because I know by this point that I'm gonna use one of those as the binding for the other frame wires, and so I didn't even bother putting that bend in it. It does mean that the whole time it's sticking out to the side, but you have that choice too. Okay, it's time. Put that back to just go like this and this. Slide the rock in. And yeah, it's about to be last call for swapping out. As soon as I start to close this and anchor these in, that rock is going to be trapped. And I, start a whole new project on any of these other cabs and get that other outcome. It is fun sometimes to make duplicates that you've just made one change. And then you get feedback on which one people like and which one people buy. Okay? Here again, the bulk of the roots are actually in my way, so to work